It's the early hours of October 6, 1974, in the quiet market town of Ossett, England. Police are called to a modest home on Dog Hill. They're not prepared for what waits inside. The living room is splattered with blood, the air thick with the smell of iron, and, well, something else. Something wrong. In the middle of it stands Michael Taylor. No clothes, drenched in crimson, shaking. His eyes are wild. His skin is pale. In a low, guttural voice, he mutters about the devil. Hours earlier, ministers swore they had driven 40 demons out of him. But 3, they said, remained. One of them was the demon of murder. Whoa, right?
How do you know how many are in there?
I don't know. I'm not a demonologist, but they certainly thought they knew. Wild, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
This one's interesting. What's up, everybody? Obviously, if you can read, you're here. You're with us on the Yore Town Podcast. The voice you're hearing, it's me. It's Matt. It's Beard Laws, and joining me as always, the beautiful Dun Dun Queen, Meg.
Ew.
Weird little segue from the craziness. And if we're a little lethargic, we did just eat a massive amount of dinner from one of our favorite Chinese restaurants in Town. So good stuff. Good egg rolls. Meg thinks we should order.
Been a minute.
Meg thinks we should order, 20 of them next
I
week?
didn't say 20.
Sounded like
I
it.
said 10.
Oh, fair enough.
And then you split them in half.
Gotcha. Now, maybe we will. Maybe we won't. But what we will do.
But only that, nothing else.
Yeah, see, I like pork fried rice too much.
Okay.
You know?
Maybe 3 each.
Maybe we shouldn't talk about food with this dark case.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not. It's a little disturbing. And viewer and listener discretion is as advised. There's a lot of details. We do our best to clean it up a little bit. But this one is interesting.
Okay.
You want to jump into this?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do it. Because Michael Taylor was born 1944 and lived in Ossett, West Yorkshire, a small, tightly knit market town in the heart of England. People knew him as a polite, easygoing man. He was married to Christine, and together they had 5 children. Seems pretty normal, huh? I'd imagine in England. I've never been there, but just a normal life throughout the world, right?
Yeah.
Except for some countries where they limit how many babies you can have. 5. He worked as a butcher and in other odd jobs over the years. He wasn't a man of wealth, but by most accounts, he was a man of stability, at least on the surface. But as you know, Meg, beneath the surface, there were cracks. Had a back injury, left him, unable to work for a time. He sank into periods of depression. Friends and neighbors noticed he seemed more withdrawn, and Christine, hoping to lift his spirits and find him kind of some sense of belonging, encouragement, and I said, you know what? Why don't we join a religious group, the Christian Fellowship? Seems like a good idea, right?
Mm.
You're down. They're going to pick you right back up, right?
What year was this? 70s?
When it went down, it was 1974. Before the...
It all seems very normal, yeah.
Seems normal, yeah, 70s.
For the time.
But this wasn't your traditional kind of Wiccan Sunday service, if that's the right word. The group was led by a young, charismatic lay preacher named Marie Robinson. She was just 21, full of energy, with devotion, with a gift of drawing people in. What could go wrong, right? Well, at first, the group seemed to help Michael. He was more social, more engaged, but over time, his behavior became, let's go with unusual.
Okay.
The Christian Fellowship was known for passionate, almost, ecstatic worship, I guess if that's the right word. They spoke in tongues, laid hands on each other, and prayed with an intensity that could feel, overwhelming, I guess, to outsiders. I mean, with all that being said, that seems weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The speaking in tongues was the first thing that really seemed weird to me, but hey, can't judge a book by its biblical cover, right?
Right.
And Michael seemed to really be drawn to Marie Robinson. Some said it was a spiritual admiration, while others whispered it was something more, Meg. You catching what I'm throwing? See what they're feeling? By the autumn of 1974, Dean began to suspect an affair. On October 1st, during a prayer meeting, she confronted Michael and Marie about it. What happened next was witnessed by, several members of the group. Michael erupted. His face twisted with rage, and he shouted at Marie, accusing her of having the devil in her. He shouted blasphemies. He spoke in strange, snarling tones, and even tried to physically grab her. And it actually took several people to restrain him. All because, I mean, on the outside, if it's me, if you know what I mean, this person's being confronted by the wife, and he erupts, what are you thinking? Guilty.
Yeah.
Right? That's my first thing, But I guess it was pretty clear to the leaders of the fellowship and to Reverend Peter Vincent, the local Anglican priest. Saying that right? Anglican?
That sounds...
Let's go with Anglican. I was thinking
Sure.
like Anglican. We're going to go with the priest. That something was, well, pretty wrong. And in their view, this wasn't a matter for a doctor. You know what they needed, Meg?
What?
Exorcism. So on the night of October 5th, 1974, Michael was brought to St. Thomas's Church in the nearby village of Gobber. Reverend Peter Vincent and Reverend Raymond Smith prepared for a rite that had grown rare in the Church of England, a full exorcism. It began late in the evening and would stretch into the early hours. Michael was restrained to, well, prevent injury. Holy water sprinkled all over him. Crosses pressed right into his skin, and prayers were shouted above his howls. What's his howls? What does that mean, you think?
Like him yelling?
Like, how Werewolves of London? That's where my brain went. Anyways, witnesses later testified that during the exorcism, Michael would thrash violently, spit, and growl. He was said to speak in deep voice that wasn't his own, mocking the clergy, laughing manically, and sometimes speaking in tongues. The priest claimed to have cast out more than 40 demons, or right around there, over the course of 8 hours. They named them as they left: demons of incest, bestiality, blasphemy, heresy, lewdness, and more. But near the end, the minister said they were, well, 3 that could not be driven out that night: the demons of murder, madness, and violence. I feel like I would have really tried to get those 3 out. You know what I'm saying?
Let's see where we get the numbers from now, I guess.
Yeah.
Checklist.
Yeah. Checking it twice or 40 times, right? But by 8 a.m., they were pretty exhausted. I'm sure they were after 8 hours, right? And they were just like, we're going to halt this exorcism. With the idea, it'll be all right. There's just murder, madness, and violence in him. He'll be all right.
It's only 3. It's fine.
And they plan to resume later, if needed. So he was released into the care of friends and sent home to rest. But what happened next, Meg, would scar the town forever. Sometime in the early hours of October 6th, Michael turned on his wife. The violence was unimaginable, and according to police forensic reports, he strangled Christine, tore out her eyes and her tongue with his bare hands, and ripped almost all of the skin from her face. The attack didn't stop there. He went after the family poodle and did a lot of similar things to the poor dog. And when police found Michael, he was wandering in the streets, no clothes, covered in blood. He told the officers it was the blood of Satan. Detective Chief Inspector Ian Walker, who led the investigation, later said that the scene inside the Taylor home was the most horrifying thing that he had ever encountered in his career. A lot going on there. What are you thinking?
Yikes.
Yikes?
Yikes.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah, that's maybe they should have had some coffee and continued with the last 3.
We're in England. They drink tea.
Sorry. Black tea.
Black tea. Have some black tea and maybe, supervise murder, madness, and violence.
Yeah, right.
Michael Taylor's trial began March 1975. The case drew intense media attention, not just for the brutality of the murder, but for the claims of the demonic possession and the unusual role of the church. The defense argued that Michael was not guilty of murder due to insanity. They claimed the exorcism had triggered a complete psychotic break, and that Michael had been in an altered state of consciousness when he killed Christine. What do you think of that? Agree or disagree?
I don't know.
Could you translate for me real quick, please?
I just think he's in a state of madness.
I think so, too. I think he had something. And psychiatrists, they testified as well that Michael suffered from acute schizophrenia and was highly suggestible, which I could see that as well. The clergy that had conducted the exorcism testified about the night in the church, recounting the supposed expulsion of dozens of demons. You know what the jury found, Michael Taylor? Not guilty.
What?
By reason of insanity. He was committed to the Broadmoor Secure Hospital, one of Britain's most infamous psychiatric facilities, for 2 years before being transferred to a less secure hospital. And then he was released.
That I don't agree with.
But it's, I mean, obviously insanity. If he was insanity and they were able to, fix, I use that term loosely, and they deem him good to go, that's the system. That's how things worked in the 70s, right? I guess over there.
Mm-hmm.
But he ended up being released. He lived a quietly little life after his release. And then in 2005, he was once in the headlines after being convicted of doing some nasty things to a teenage girl. He served time and faded from public life once more. This case remains one of the most famous examples of a murder linked to an alleged exorcism, and it actually sparked debates about the role of religion and mental health treatment and led to that church to actually impose stricter guidelines on exorcisms, requiring medical examinations before any spiritual rites are performed. So, do you think he was possessed, Meg?
No.
Do you think he was just a deeply troubled man whose delusions were fueled by religious fervor and emotional instability?
Yeah, I'm going to say schizophrenia probably had the bigger role in it.
Treated schizophrenia is wild.
You got to
But
think the treatment back then, too, was very different than what it is now.
100%. Yeah. And probably not as easily diagnosed, and you let it go on top of the depression. And I think doing that exorcism was a little bit of suggestion. It put the thought, oh, you have murder, madness, and violence. That's the only ones left. What happens? Murder, madness. And of course, psychiatrists, they lean toward the latter of the two. But those who were in the church in Gobber in 74, there was no doubt in their minds that evil, real evil, had taken hold. Well, I mean, I couldn't imagine seeing an exorcism. Do they even do exorcisms anymore? Maybe? I don't know. I couldn't imagine seeing one. It would be like camping, very intense. But Michael Taylor walked into St. Thomas's Church, a troubled man, and walked out something else entirely. What?
They must.
They must what?
Do them still.
Do what?
The exorcisms. We've seen them on shows that are not like that old.
Right, but they're shows, man.
Yeah.
Just because it's on TV doesn't mean
it means people are still interested
pretending to do exorcism. Mm.
I'm just saying I don't think they went away completely.
We'll have to look up on the Googles and see real life examples of exorcisms if they've happened in the last 10 years. I'm curious the numbers. What do you think?
I just don't think they've gone away. I just think we don't see them as often.
I mean,
or hear of them.
I can tell you I've never seen one. And I don't think there's many in our area, which maybe there should be based on everything that happens. But I got you.
You know what I'm saying, though?
I do. Catch what you're throwing. Picking up what you're putting down. But, yeah. So Michael Taylor, he walked in that church, came out something else, whether it was the work of an unseen force or the collapse of his mind under a lot of pressure. One fact does remain. By dawn, his home had become a place of horror. And in the streets of that poor little town, the whispers began that the devil himself had passed through their town wearing the face of a man that they thought they knew. Yikes. All right. You wanted creepy, you wanted eerie, you wanted mysterious. Did this hold up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Was it everything you hoped for?
Yeah.
You're going to sleep all right.
I will.
A poor poodle. The poor wife. Thankfully, though, the kids weren't home. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because that could have been way worse. I'm guessing he didn't like that poodle. You know? What do you think the poodle's name was?
Scruffy.
We'll go with Scruffy. Sorry, Scruffy. But that's all we got. We will be back next week with something. True crime. Eerie. Maybe something local. Who knows?
Maybe a haunting.
Maybe a haunting. You look up a cool story about a haunting this week, Meg. Well, knock it out of the park like a softball game. Either way, good luck to all of the soccer players going back to work this first week. And as a couple of soccer players sitting in this room, it's probably the worst week of the entire year when you get back into what we refer to it as Hell Week.
Good news.
Good news.
The heat broke.
The heat broke like a fever.
So it's not as hot. I think the high for tomorrow is only like 70. So
See, for us, We prayed for heat because they couldn't run us as hard. When it was cooler, we ran harder. And when it rained, oh boy. But I get what you're saying. Good luck to all, not only you players, but to the coaches out there. Enjoy the 70s while you can, because by the end of the soccer season in our area, it's going to be about 25 with rain and snow and freezing, and we'll
shovel the fields off.
We'll be there. But we'll take our time on that. But we'll be back next week. Thanks, Meg. Thanks, everybody, for listening. That's all we got. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.